Elvis Presley story, you're wrong. There's now a man in Vegas who's claiming to be Elvis's.
The legacy of Elvis Presley continues to captivate the world, but a surprising twist has surfaced. Elvis Aaron Presley Jr., long claiming to be the king's son, has shared DNA results that reveal the truth about his parentage. Do the findings confirm his identity or expose a different story? The story begins in 1961 when Elvis Presley was 26 years old, having just returned from military service and filming the musical Blue Hawaii. At the height of his fame, every aspect of his life was monitored by fans, media, and his powerful manager, Colonel Tom Parker. According to Elvis Jr., it was during this time that Elvis met Angelique Pettyjohn, a young actress and model. The two allegedly had a brief, passionate affair, from which Presley Jr. claims he was born. In those days, news of an out-of-wedlock child could have devastated Elvis's carefully crafted image as a wholesome bachelor. Presley Jr. says that Colonel Parker stepped in, ensuring the child would be adopted and the scandal kept secret. The baby, named Philip Stanek, was adopted by circus performers and raised under a new identity. As he grew older, he found clues: his adoption record and a baptismal certificate naming him Elvis Aaron Presley Jr. that led him to believe he was Elvis's son. While baptismal records can be forged or changed, Presley Jr. believes this certificate is his strongest link to the king of rock and roll. Despite skepticism from historians and fans, his supporters see a possibility, however slim, that Elvis may have left behind a hidden heir. For over 40 years, Elvis Aaron Presley Jr. has performed across the world, not just as an Elvis tribute artist, but as someone who insists he is biologically connected to the legend himself. Born in 1961 and legally renamed in the late 1970s, he pursued a career that fused music and his personal story. Audiences in Las Vegas, Atlantic City, and Europe were drawn in by both his performances and the tale he told on stage about his origins. But his story has always been met with resistance. Elvis historians argue there's no credible DNA evidence and that Elvis's romantic life during the early 60s is well documented, leaving little room for secret children. Even members of Elvis's circle have dismissed the claim. Still, Presley Jr. has carried on, believing his journey is about more than fame. It's about truth, identity, and finding where he truly belongs. The problem remains: what proof can convince the world? The only thing that can push a story like this from rumor to reality is undeniable proof. Specifically, verified DNA. If Elvis Presley did have a hidden son, this would be monumental. But after decades of research and scrutiny by experts, no credible evidence has ever emerged. Elvis's life, especially during the time Presley Jr. claims he was conceived, is thoroughly documented. Lisa Marie Presley, born in 1968 to Elvis and Priscilla, is still the only child officially recognized by law. Over the years, many have claimed to be Elvis's children. Some referenced romantic encounters, others pointed to paperwork or physical resemblance, but none have provided conclusive DNA evidence. Testing against Elvis himself is impossible. His DNA has never been released for private comparison. Even matching with relatives would only suggest possible ancestry, not parentage. So far, nothing has met the legal or scientific standard required to rewrite Elvis's official family history. Lisa Marie Presley's role in all this is significant. As Elvis's only recognized child, she lived a life shaped by fame and expectation. From the start, she was in the spotlight. Her marriages to Michael Jackson, Nicolas Cage, and others kept her in the public eye, but she remained committed to preserving her father's legacy. Her children, including actress Riley Keough and twins Finley and Harper Lockwood, are the only visible continuation of Elvis's bloodline. Meanwhile, Elvis Presley Enterprises, operating out of Graceland, works to protect the Presley name. The estate has consistently dismissed claims of secret children and takes strong legal action to shut down anything that could damage Elvis's legacy. They control his music, merchandise, and likeness. Official books, documentaries, and tributes all recognize Lisa Marie as his only heir. They rarely respond directly to paternity claims, perhaps to avoid giving them more attention than they deserve. Behind the scenes, they act swiftly to protect Elvis's carefully maintained image. And what about the DNA test that Elvis Jr. reportedly took? The details are murky. While he allegedly underwent private testing, nothing conclusive was released. It's unclear what lab was used, what samples were compared, or whether any Presley family DNA was involved at all. The limited information that did leak out suggested there was no match between him and known Presley relatives. Supporters argue the test may have been flawed or inconclusive due to lack of access to direct Presley DNA. Critics say the result confirms long-standing doubts. Either way, the absence of transparency leaves everything unresolved. The emotional toll of such uncertainty is enormous. Presley Jr. has lived for decades believing he was the son of a legend. The idea of that being disproven isn't just about science, it strikes at the core of his identity. And yet, he continues. He reflects on Elvis's complicated life, his relationships, and the people he surrounded himself with. Among those was Angelique Petit-John, who appeared in Blue Hawaii, the same film set where Presley Jr. claims his story began. It's true that Elvis's early years were filled with intense fame and romantic rumors, but his official record only includes one child, Lisa Marie. And after her death in 2023, the Presley name lives on through her children. Still, Presley Jr.'s claim remains a footnote in the larger saga, a reminder of how fame can create legends, myths, and lifelong questions. Lisa Marie Presley, as Elvis's only legal heir, carried the weight of preserving her father's name. Her life was never easy. 4 marriages, a spotlight that never dimmed, and the responsibility of protecting a legacy like no other. She helped manage Graceland, oversaw business decisions, and guarded her father's brand with care. She was a mother, a public figure, and the living bridge between Elvis and his fans. Despite the many rumors about other children, Lisa Marie stood firm in her role and rarely addressed such claims, perhaps as a way to avoid fueling unnecessary drama. She focused on her children, especially Riley Keough, whose acting career continues the family's connection to entertainment. With Lisa Marie gone, that legacy now passes to Riley and the twins, making them the next chapter in the Presley story. Yet, as always, whispers of hidden heirs persist. Elvis's fame has always drawn myths, from sightings after death to stories of secret children. The mystery of a possible hidden heir remains one of the most enduring. People want to feel connected to icons like Elvis. They want the story to continue in unexpected ways. Stories like that of Elvis Aaron Presley Jr. persist not necessarily because of evidence, but because they offer something emotional, hope, drama, and a touch of the extraordinary. Other figures, like the performer Orion, fed into the same mythos, wearing a mask and singing like Elvis, fueling rumors that the king never died. Even when exposed as singer Jimmy Ellis, the idea remained powerful. Fans long for a piece of Elvis to still exist in the world, and hidden heir stories give them that. But at the end of the day, only one truth holds. Lisa Marie Presley was and remains the only biological and legally recognized child of Elvis. Her life was shaped by both the glory and the burden of that fact. In her, the man and the myth were forever joined. The rest remains legend. But behind the legend lies something deeper, a legacy that continues to evolve long after her passing. Lisa Marie Presley was not just a symbol of rock and roll royalty, she was a living, breathing reminder of a man whose impact on music, culture, and the American psyche remains unmatched. And with her departure, a new chapter in the Presley story begins, one filled with reflection, speculation, and the search for meaning in what remains. As the only child of Elvis Presley, Lisa Marie's very existence was rooted in one of the most iconic legacies in entertainment history. Born into a world of flashing cameras, devoted fans, and unimaginable fame, she was never given the choice of anonymity. From the moment of her birth on February 1, 1968, Lisa Marie became an extension of her father's myth. Every public appearance, every relationship, every word she spoke was weighed against the expectations that came with her last name. Yet she tried again and again to carve her own path in a world that constantly reminded her of who her father was. Her childhood was split between two realities: the wild, mesmerizing world of Graceland and the complex aftermath of her parents' divorce. After Elvis and Priscilla Presley separated in 1973, Lisa Marie spent time between her mother's more grounded home in California and her father's extravagant lifestyle in Memphis. This dual upbringing gave her a unique perspective. She was exposed to both the Hollywood elite and the quiet pain that fame often conceals. She saw firsthand the vulnerability behind the glitz, the weight her father carried, the loneliness of stardom, and the pressure of always being on for the world. And when Elvis died in 1977, everything changed. Lisa Marie was only 9 years old. The world mourned, but for her it was something far more intimate: a father's death, a personal loss buried beneath global sorrow. The man who once sang her lullabies and called her his little girl was gone, and in his place a legacy grew louder and heavier. Suddenly, she wasn't just his daughter. She was the guardian of a name that millions revered. The responsibility was overwhelming, especially for someone still growing up. Over the years, Lisa Marie would come to terms with that legacy in her own way. She explored music, releasing albums that were both deeply personal and emotionally raw. Her voice, haunted, soulful, and unpretentious, echoed some of her father's vulnerability, but carried a distinct identity. Songs like Lights Out and Nobody Noticed It offered listeners a glimpse into her internal battles. These weren't pop songs chasing fame. They were confessions, melodies wrapped in pain, hope, and the search for truth. Her relationships, often the subject of intense media scrutiny, painted another portrait of a woman searching for connection in a world that rarely offered her peace. Her high-profile marriages to Michael Jackson and Nicolas Cage were more than just tabloid fodder. They were signs of a woman looking for understanding, perhaps with those who also lived under the crushing weight of fame. In many ways, she saw in them the same complexities she carried herself. And while the world judged, she tried to live a life that made sense to her, even when the headlines suggested otherwise. But perhaps the most profound role Lisa Marie ever embraced was that of a mother. Her children, Riley, Benjamin, and twins Finley and Harper, became the emotional anchors in her life. In them she saw continuity, a way to pass on the Presley name not as a burden, but as a symbol of resilience. Her bond with Benjamin was especially strong, and his tragic death in 2020 shattered her in ways that words can't describe. In interviews and statements, she spoke candidly about her grief, about the unending ache of losing a child. It was a heartbreaking reminder that beneath the name and the legend, she was human, flawed, grieving, and trying to find light in darkness. And yet, through every trial, Lisa Marie remained fiercely protective of her father's legacy. She stood guard over Graceland, over the stories told about Elvis, and over the history that belonged not only to her family, but to music lovers around the world. She was involved in documentaries, tribute events, and estate decisions, always working to ensure that the image of her father remained true to the man she knew. Not the caricature, not the impersonator, but the real Elvis. The father who wrote her notes, made her laugh, and called her by name. Her life was not perfect. Far from it. But in many ways, Lisa Marie's imperfection made her story more powerful. She was not a princess untouched by hardship. She faced addiction, heartbreak, financial struggles, and public humiliation. But she kept going. She remained, above all else, a survivor. And in doing so, she honored her father's memory, not by living in his shadow, but by stepping forward into the light he left behind. As time goes on, Lisa Marie Presley's story will likely be remembered as one filled with both tragedy and grace. She will be seen as the thread that connected two very different worlds, the glittering world of Elvis Presley and the turbulent reality of modern fame. And through that connection, we are reminded that even legends come from families, from people with joys, flaws, and wounds. With her passing in 2023, that thread was frayed but not broken. Her children now carry the Presley name into a new era, one less consumed with celebrity perhaps, but still touched by the same longing for identity. Riley Keough, in particular, has emerged as both a rising Hollywood star and a thoughtful steward of her family's history. In interviews, she speaks with quiet strength, acknowledging the complexities of her lineage while choosing to define her own path. It's a torch passed not with fanfare, but with quiet determination. And so the story continues. Not just Elvis, not just Lisa Marie, but of a legacy still unfolding, still touching lives. Somewhere in the music, in the films, in the photographs and family stories, the Presley spirit endures. It lives in every fan who sings along to Can't Help Falling in Love. It lives in every visit to Graceland. It lives in every memory shared by those who knew them, not just as icons, but as people. Lisa Marie Presley's life was a bridge between past and present, between myth and reality. She showed us that behind every famous name is a human being trying to make sense of it all. And though she is gone, her presence echoes in every conversation about Elvis, in every song that plays late at night, and in the hearts of those who still believe that music can connect generations. The Elvis story has always been more than just music. It's about love, loss, fame, and the cost of being seen by the whole world. Lisa Marie understood that better than anyone. And now, as the next generation steps forward, her story, complex, painful, and inspiring, becomes part of the legend. In the end, Lisa Marie Presley was not just Elvis's daughter. She was his legacy made flesh, his dreams, his struggles, his humanity. Her life was shaped by both the glory and the burden of that fact. In her, the man and the myth were forever joined. The rest remains legend. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and check out the next one.